have a little drink.
Good idea.
All right. Hey, guys, it's Ted Bogert with The Ted Show. I finally get to have on this talented young man, this artist guru, the one and only Chris Carr. Welcome, Chris. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. So while I am sharing the show in a second on my pages, and I know you're working on that too, this is the one little technical thing that's funny about this Zoom to Facebook thing. If you can share a little bit about you, give us your origin story, your background, maybe, you know, where you're from and all that good stuff so people can get to know who you are. And then obviously I love this topic. I want to talk about it. Life's, you say it because you know it. Life's a journey,
sort
not
of
a
the
race.
motto that I live by is life is a journey and not a race. You know,
love
everyone feels like you're supposed to do everything in a certain amount of time, you know, get married, have kids, have a successful career, have a second successful career, but there's no game plan. You can do it however you like.
There's none. All right, I want to dive into that after we get to know you. So tell us a little bit about you.
All right, so I was born in North Carolina. You kind of probably hear a couple of accents. North Carolina.
I hear it. I can definitely hear it. I love it.
Through the 5th grade, and then we moved to Northeast Mississippi, where I finished my public education and one college degree. I got a marketing degree, a 2-year marketing degree, and then I moved to Orlando in '96. I was, you know, trying to be a musician at that time. Some friends of mine moved down here to go to one of the schools here, and we moved down, tried to do it. Did that for a few years, and it didn't work out, and that's okay. But you know, I'm still in Orlando for 23 years now. Almost 24, so it's been great.
So has art always been, you said marketing was your degree, but have you always been an artist at heart?
Yeah, I've always been a creative person. I think my mom, being a teacher, kind of helped make that grow as a kid. She never discouraged me from being a creative person. So it was always kind of a great thing to grow up like that there was no discouragement in that sense, that I never felt limited to anything. I kind of still got that sense that, like, I never think, oh, I can't do this, I can do this. I just, if I want to try it, I try it. If it doesn't work, then I move on.
I love that approach. All right, but you started with music.
Music, yes. Been a lifelong musician. Just kind of had a natural talent for it. My mom's dad could pick up any instrument and play it, and I kind of got the same skills, although I found a few instruments that take way more practice than just picking them up. Like a violin, for instance. I tried that once. Sounded like I was killing a cat. So
I think any instrument I would play would sound like I was killing something. I have no musical, that kind of talent. I can sing, or at least I think I can sing, but the actual playing of an instrument, there's so much dedication to that, and you have to learn, and my fingers don't move the way I would want them to move. So what besides violin?
Guitar was what I started on.
Guitar.
Guitar, and I took lessons for a few months just to learn some basic chords, and then after that, I really have always just been a self-education person. I taught myself.
Do you sing along with the guitar, or do you play? Like,
not when anybody's around.
I won't put you on the spot. I wouldn't do
okay. I've never been really comfortable singing any instrument or backups, maybe, but as far as a lead singer, I never wanted to do that.
So where did so you're a creative, like you said. Yeah. So where did the art part of it come in?
Well, photography I kind of picked up after I stopped being a musician in my mid to late 20s. I was doing a lot of traveling and always had a camera with me. Way before cell phones were so prominent with such good cameras. Doing a lot of travel and with my wife, always taking pictures. Tried to find a way to make photography kind of a full-time gig. And at the time I was doing web development. I had gone to Valencia and got a degree there, web design, or almost web design. I ended up finishing it in just a general AA so I could move on and get a bachelor's at some point. So the creative bug always was there. And the photography, you know, I did travel on landscape, nothing really professional, just sort of my own personal satisfaction. And along the way, I started shooting reflections and noticed that I had a unique vision with that. So after a few years, I kind of took it, and that's where I ran with.
So you weren't commercial per se.
No.
You went right to this is my art, this is what I want to do. There's a lot of people who go through that transition. They start wedding photography. I'll use that because that's what I think of when I think of commercial. And then all of a sudden they go, you know what, I really like this. I like to take different kinds of pictures, not just of brides and grooms and their families.
Yeah.
But you didn't go that route.
No, I kind of got booted out of not booted out, but I was doing web development and my job got eliminated. So I kind of was unemployed, but I had applied to this photography art show in Los Angeles. And 2 weeks after I got laid off, I got accepted to that. So I kind of took it as a sign that I had something special. And that was in 2015. And I've been doing this ever since. So I've been blessed to be able to keep progressing every year, or at least in my mind, progressing like I wanted to. And
Where do you
still
find your inspiration?
Inspiration is just everyday life. You know, there's so much beauty in things that we walk over and pass by every day that sometimes slowing down and looking at those things helps us appreciate them again. And sometimes when I'm shooting off puddles on the ground, it's a more unique perspective of the same things we see every day. So it's kind of refreshing and new and confusing all at the same time. Well, some of them are straightforward, but some of them have a lot going on, it seems.
Well, I looked, of course. I try not to. I mean, I try to know enough to be dangerous. Your work's beautiful.
Thank you.
I want to know what, like, if you're taking a picture. I think people don't realize, because in this day of selfie world, everybody thinks they're a photographer, and so there's a lot that goes into it. I assume, I'm imagining there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, maybe you're a quick snap and shoot person, but I think if you want to get the shot you want, I'm sure that there's a lot that that's involved. Like, tell them about that.
Well, some days it's really quick. Some days I don't have a lot of time. I try to shoot anytime I find water, because some days you don't find any water, especially here in Florida. It's so hot. Some days there's no water to be found. And since that's my blank canvas, it's kind of a necessity. So I've learned to do it in my daily life. If I'm walking from my car to a store and I see a puddle, I'll stop and take a picture. And sometimes they turn out to be good. And sometimes they're just practice, just keeping in practice. But I like the water because when you shoot off the reflection, sometimes you can see what's underneath the water at the same time you see what's reflecting. So they can seem like I'm compositing pictures or photoshopping, doing a lot of extra work, when really the natural beauty is already there. I'm just taking a picture of what I see. Not saying I don't have a nice, unique eye. It's helped develop over a few years. But I really just try to capture a new vantage point of the same old thing we always see.
And how do you have a studio, so tell them a little bit about that.
So I used to be at Favo, and now I'm the new artist, one of the new artists here at McRae, which I'm excited about. And that's where I'm at today, down at my studio. So McRae is a great art studio that unfortunately I haven't had a lot of time to meet a lot of the other people, because with all this lockdown and social distancing we've had, but it's been nice. I'm not on the road right now, which I do a lot of out-of-state art shows. I would have just been in Dallas and Tallahassee, but not having been on the road, I had time to set my studio up like I wanted to. So that was nice.
I love it. Where is McRae? I don't even know.
McRae is right behind where the McNamara Pontiac used to be.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, McNamara. Wow.
Yeah.
That's old days, man.
Yeah, we're actually in the building that was the paint and body shop.
No way. That's so cool. See, I did not know that. I heard of it, but I just didn't know where it was. All right, let's talk about the journey a little bit. Let's talk about your life's a journey, not a race. That's your mantra. Why?
Well, because you can always reinvent yourself. You can always re-educate yourself. And if you feel stuck in your life, you can always do stuff to better yourself, to get to somewhere else, somewhere better, somewhere different. And that's how I've always been. I was a musician until my 20s, decided that, okay, I don't necessarily want to do this anymore. So went back and re-educated myself, web design, graphic design. When I got kind of sick of that, I self-educated myself with photography and kind of found a new way to be, or a new job to do. And I've been blessed to keep doing it for this long and keep creating and still feel the passion for it.
What do you mean by not a race?
What do you mean? Well, wait a minute. Did I say a race?
You might have. Maybe that's me. Life's a journey, not a race. That's what I thought.
A race. Yes. Like you're not in any hurry to get anywhere. Don't feel like you have to have. Don't feel like you have to do anything by a certain age or a certain time. It's whatever timeline you want it to be. Just because you're 30 or 40 or 50 doesn't mean your life's over and you can't do anything anymore. You can always go out and do more stuff. It's just more of a mindset that people get into, that, oh, well, I'm not a young guy anymore. I'm not a young woman anymore, that I'm just going to grow, I'm just going to shrivel up and die and not do anything else. You can't think like that. You always have to go out and keep pushing yourself and keep exploring.
I love that. I think it's so important. I think you're right. The race part is, I feel like we've had a big reset with the quarantine and the lockdown and Corona, which has given people a lot of opportunity to figure out what they want to do. And when I posted the show promo on Monday, I had people specifically ask a few questions about you, all geared toward people who are amateur photographers in their minds, and what you would say to them, how they could best, because what they want to do is they believe they have a gift like you
Right.
have, and they want to take it to the next level and do that as their career. Do you have any words of wisdom or advice for them?
Um, I still think of myself as an amateur. I never say professional. And I think that's a good thing that you keep that sense, because you always want to keep trying to get better. If you say, oh, I'm a professional, I feel like you could get lazy and just assume that you know everything. And if you always keep that sense that I don't know what I'm doing, I'm still just learning, then it keeps you pushing yourself. It keeps you uncomfortable so that you keep trying new things. For advice for ones that want to become professional, I would say try several different avenues of photography to see which ones you really like and which ones you don't. You mentioned wedding photographers. I've done a lot of different photography along the way, but that's one thing that I'll never do. I don't want the pressure of a wedding. I feel like if I do your family pictures and I mess them up, I can take you back out and fix them, but a wedding, I can't recreate that.
You can't. It's a
So no
lot
matter
of
how many people,
pressure.
yeah. So no matter how many people have asked, even family, I've said, sorry, no, it's not something I want to do.
Well, there's people who focus on that and love it and are good, are amazing at it, and that's their gift.
Yes.
It doesn't matter where you're at on your gift, it's a matter of
Yeah.
you applying your gift. And so yeah, that would make me stressed out. I would be stressed
Yeah.
out for anybody who was taking photos at any wedding. I'm sure they all wish they were taking photos right now, which brings me to my next question. Tell me what you're doing differently now that you're completely sequestered. We're all in for the long haul, or at least until it opens up. What are you doing differently for your business?
Well, I'm trying a new marketing approach with my social media and my email campaigns. I've had some time to really think about what was working and what wasn't, and kind of retool that. I'm able to create a lot more art. I was on the road 138 days last year. So in between art shows, I would always go to different cities and take reflections, so that I was constantly working. Well, I've got this backlog of art that I made all last year that I've had a chance to finally go through and get it all ready to show everyone as the weeks and months progress. So that's one thing. Some house projects as well. I was able to repaint my kitchen cabinets. So I've had a long list of to-dos for a while. I was able to catch up on.
I think we all had those. I think we're all trying to work through them. And it's funny, I had somebody mention, I don't know, I don't even know what day it is, but probably this week, said, you know what, I'm a little bit stressed out about reopening because I haven't gotten everything done on my quarantine to-do list. And I'm like, wow, that is some pressure that you're putting on yourself. I think anything that we accomplish on that to-do list that's been sitting around forever is a positive. We also had a question about equipment. And I think, again, we have a lot of people who probably think they're amazing. And because the phones do such a really great job overall, the newer ones on taking pictures, but people want to jump to the next level. Are there any suggestions on what kind of camera they might get? I know that sounds like a basic question, but I probably had 4 or 5 people ask me.
It's a good question, especially for people who are at an amateur level that want to know that. For me personally, I've never been, even when I was a musician, I was not someone that felt like I had to go out and buy all this gear and all this expensive equipment to do good. It's the person using it. I feel strongly about that, that I know people with expensive cameras who take lousy pictures. I know people with cheap cameras that take great pictures. So I think it's the person using the equipment and how well you get to know the equipment you're using. So don't feel like you have to go out and spend a lot of money on gear to be a professional. Smartphones, such powerful cameras now that you could almost get away with that without even having, especially with the fact that if you video, you do stories, you do social media, it's so much easier to do it on a smartphone and post it instantaneously than it is to dump it down from a camera, process it, go through it, and put it back up. So don't feel like you have to have big, expensive gear. I mean, it's not a problem if you do, but it's not a necessity, I don't think. I think it's all in the eye of the beholder and the operator.
I think people go out and spend all of this money on no matter what your business is, and then you're hoping that because you spent so much money that all of a sudden it's all going to come to you, and you're going to be this brilliant professional photographer or whatever your profession is. And I tell people a lot, like I just finally got a light, and I can't take credit for it. George, our videographer guy that works for Freedom, we got this light, helped me get this light, and the light has made a huge difference now that we're because I'm in my bedroom every day, 8 hours a day doing shows, and I can already tell the difference. But the light was $30 on Amazon or $29 on Amazon, something like that. And so, yeah, I want to encourage people when they ask me that question, I sort of knew the answer, but it's always good to hear from somebody like you who's actually in it. All right, talk about your social media, because you said you upped your game. And I think that I would imagine that people would expect a photographer or a digital marketing person or somebody in the arena to have the most beautiful, amazing social media platform. And so tell them what you're doing and how you're doing it and how you upped your game.
So for me, my most important goal is to stay consistent and just always have stuff out there. And in the past, I usually post almost every day. I post a new website image, or I share an image that's been around for maybe people who haven't seen it before, throwback pictures, music playlist. And I've been doing that for a couple of years, and it's been working really well. I have lots of engagement. I do all, I create all my own content, doing web design, doing all those things has helped me be able to maintain my own stuff. But recently I had this brainstorm to where I see other people and they're not sharing new stuff every day. They're more doing a build-up to where they say, okay, I've got new stuff coming out on this date. So they create a little more excitement about it. So I've changed my approach like that to where on Sunday, I'm going to say, okay, these are all the new artwork that's going to be posted on Saturday. And then every day I do a preview of each little group of that by category. Like I've got new Disney, I've got some new city reflections coming out. And that way I feel like it creates a little more buzz and excitement about it. Instead of it just always being something new every day, I'm sharing the same stuff all week to kind of build up to that. And hopefully it'll work. This is my first week doing that. So it's new and it's unproven, but at least I hope that the retooling will have a little bit of a change.
Well, what I love about, I feel like, and I don't know if you feel this, but I'm going to say it as an outsider. I would think that somebody who is a photographer, 90% of social media is what I'm looking at. And so how cool to have, like I take my pictures and I'm like, oh God, where's that app where I can Facetune myself? I think a lot of people go through that. So how cool to have that as your base. Yeah. And so you're just creating, but I think the promotion's so important. I struggle with it because I'm a one-man show and I'm doing so many shows in a week. And so I struggle with making sure that I tag everyone. Why? Because I want everyone to get the promotion that they deserve. And it's an undertaking to do any kind of initiative on social media. That's why I love to promote my digital marketing people, because the stuff that they do saves me so much time. So if any of my friends are out there and want to just donate some time to Ted or to Chris, let us know, because we'll take it. So what do you think is going to happen when we do open up? What do you think is going to be different about how you do business, if anything?
I think a lot more art is going to be online, because even if we start opening things back up, a lot of the shows that I do have several thousand or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands people at them. And I don't feel that we're going to be allowed to have gatherings that large I don't think before the end of the summer. It could be later than that, unless we find a vaccine for this maybe. I don't know that we're going to have any shows. So I think that a lot more online, I think we're going to see the growth of online art shows more than we have in the past. I see where lots of people are doing things right now. Museums are giving free tours. So I think a lot of this stuff that has been kind of putting off going online full time is kind of getting thrown into it now, and going to have to play catch up. Education is doing the same thing, and I think that's a good thing. I think that we should have put a lot more stuff online a while ago, and now everybody's having to be forced to do that. And of course, some things can't. Like a small diner, they can do things online, but really the food is physical, so all they can do is promote themselves.
I love that thought process. I think you're right. I think that I love the art online. I'm going to talk about that. The art shows, a lot of times, I'll just admit it, and I hope I'm not the only person in the world, I'm lazy and I don't want to walk around in the heat. I mean, it's not easy to go to an art show that's outside in Florida. But imagine if I could do it virtually,
Yeah.
and I can look through and I can still look and make it as big as I want on my computer and reach out to the artist. And I know it's good for the vendors around the art show, but there's got to be a way virtually to help them too. But I'm excited about the virtual part. I did a few of the museum tours, and my wife actually used some of the museum tours for her students. She's a
Nice.
teacher, and I love that. I want to be able to kind of look at it in my, my black running shorts, which I have underneath here, and my t-shirt when I'm not doing shows, and just peruse. I think that allows you to have more time to spend on the art. And so I'm excited about that. I hope our local art shows figure out a way to handle that, because I think you're right. These big events, I don't know when we're going to come back.
Well, and it's a good way to, especially if it's stuff that you're not familiar with, it's a good way to kind of self-educate yourself before, because let's say you really like something, you want to buy it, at least you kind of look through everything online, and then maybe you can go in person to make a final purchase or to pick the piece you like the most. We can still do in-person stuff, but I think the virtual, especially with virtual reality, I think you could do a studio tour. Google Maps has VR. You can post your own stuff. I tried to do that with my studio at Favo, to where I uploaded a VR of just being in my studio, and I never could get it to work. I'm sure it was some little error I was missing. I'm good with technology, but not every little thing is my friend. Sometimes
a web degree, or at least close to it. That's awesome. Yeah. I can barely get on my website and change anything. All right. So if people want to find out more about you, if they want to look at your art, buy your photography, I call it art, but that's, in my mind, that's what it is.
It's still
You're an artist. How do they reach you?
So you could go to my website, is the main thing, chriscarrfineart.com. You can see everything, my show schedule, or delayed show schedule, maybe. All my artwork, gallery and the shop. You can see articles that I write about being an artist or talking to artists, a lot of stuff revolving around art life. And, some stuff in the press. I'll put this up there this week at some point. I've done an interview with County Tourist as well. So that's the best place to start. You can also go to my Facebook and Instagram page, Chris Carr Fine Art Photography. You can see there, I usually do a lot of stuff online with social media that may or may not be on my website. Well, it's usually on my website, but I kind of tailor my social media to the platform it's on as well.
I can't wait till we can get together, because you're awesome, man. I appreciate it. I think anytime we can talk about the creative, I think people are looking for that. And I think that if you're ahead, I think there's traditional artists, there's traditional art and photography. And I think that moving into this new, like you said earlier, it's forced us really to broaden our horizons. And I love that about you. And I just had a drink when you said Mississippi. I had a drink yesterday, a Mississippi Mule that I made thanks to Sean Kelly at the Basin. I'll have to make you one of those. I will not be making it, but I will take you somewhere where we can get one. Thanks so much for being on the show, buddy. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely. All right. Chris Carr, Fine Art.
Yes.
Gotcha. All right, guys. Really reach out to him. He's awesome. Thanks, Chris, so much.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.